earlier today, I was thinking about what it means to wake up, to the fact that you are not just a human, but you are so much more than that. You are the awareness, the pure consciousness that is having a human experience. That is truly who each and every one of us is at our core. We are pure consciousness. We condition that consciousness by placing labels on ourselves as well as on others. From the moment that we're born, we are immediately identified as being a specific gender. Then from there, the conditions continue. We are given a name by our parents, or caregivers. We are then brought home and we are trained by these adults, and we train them as well, letting them know when we're hungry. We cry for a bottle or a breast. And so they also in turn begin to condition us. When we learn to speak, we learn to walk. They tell us, don't do that, or don't go here. It's dangerous. You might fall. Don't hurt yourself, etc. Notice how in all of those instances, as we begin to gain independence, and by that I mean, we're no longer just infants that are relying on someone else to carry us and do things for us. As we begin to gain independence and we begin to explore the world around us, the conditions start to become a lot stronger. We become well acquainted with the word no, and don't do this, don't do that. And that only continues to grow and to multiply as we get older. Then pretty soon, a few years down the line, we go to school. At least in where I live in the world, we go to school. And at school, our teachers condition us to act in certain ways. We are told what is expected of us, and we are rewarded based on complying with other people's expectations. And so this is just the world as we know it, right? However, none of those things define who we truly are. The most difficult thing, I think, about this practice, aside from the things that I've already mentioned, which is coming to the realization that you are the first and only cause of everything that is happening in your world, in your life. Your life is not happening to you. It is happening through you, for you. You are magnetizing the events, experiences, the people, everything. You are a magnet to those experiences. You may argue that, well, I did not decide for something bad to happen to me, etc. And I'm here to tell you that if you marinated on that with enough feeling, enough emotion, you may have only thought it once, but the feeling was there. You can lie to me and you can lie to another, but you can never lie to yourself. There is an expression, I'm not sure, I'll be honest, I'm not sure where this one came from. At least it's not coming to my mind at the moment. But there is a phrase that I believe is in the Bible, and it is that God will not be mocked. That is what that means. I had a bit of trouble understanding that because a lot of manifestation teachers, coaches, etc., will tell you that you have to be delusional and you have to tell yourself a lie. And I also used to subscribe to that belief that you have to tell a new lie to override the old lie that you were told that you no longer believe or want to, continue experiencing because it belongs to the old identity, the old program. And so it's not necessarily overriding lies. It's about self-persuasion. It's about becoming a better version of yourself, the ideal version of yourself. And so for me, and I have been doing this for quite some time, but I have been incredibly diligent in the last year, especially because I realized that I was doing some things right, and I was getting results and seeing proof of who I was being reflected back to me in my reality, in my 3D world. And that was very wonderful to see, very validating for me. But there were other things that I either felt a resistance to, or that I didn't want, specific things that I was fearful of. And I not only had these things happen to me, I had them happen to me in succession multiple times because of my resistance to them. And so what I'm saying is that when you really want or don't want something, a comfortable state of neutrality is the ideal, I believe, the ideal place to be. Now, you can, if it is a good thing that you want, obviously in my last recording I talked about how feelings of happiness and joy and gratitude and relief are good feelings that you want to associate. They're positive feelings that you want to associate with your desires, because they do not come from a place that is desperate or needy, because nobody likes anybody who's desperate or needy. That is for sure. If you have ever had someone be romantically interested in you and you were just not into that person, and the more that they tried, the more that it gave you the ick, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is a huge turnoff. Well, you have to look at desires in that way too. You don't want to come off too needy or desperate or like your life absolutely depends on it. And I understand that that's challenging for some people, especially when it comes to do with health. That's a big one. Money is another one. But I can promise you this: if you are putting that much importance on another human being, and this is not at all to shame you or downplay the love that you may believe that you have, that you feel strongly for this person, remember that you are the top of the pyramid in your life, not the other person. Start seeing yourself that way. Do whatever is necessary to see yourself that way, to put yourself there. You're the one that belongs on the pedestal, not the other person. I understand that the dynamic in healthy relationships, whether they be love relationships, family relationships, friend relationships, the dynamic is more to be on as equal footing as possible. You don't want to be over the other person. You want to approach it as equals. With that said, be mindful that you are also respecting yourself as well as the other person, and that you do not accept behaviors. You neither engage in behaviors that would disrespect the other person, but that you don't allow anyone else to disrespect you as well, because it should be equal. That's what a healthy relationship, whether it is romantic or platonic, does not matter. That is what a healthy relationship ought to look like, at least in my opinion. Take it or leave it, but it literally costs you nothing. I'm not charging for this advice. And so we have all of these expectations that are put on us. I get that the 3D is reality itself can seem so daunting at times, and there are situations that you may find yourself in and you wonder, how on earth did I get here? How exactly did this happen? And that has happened to me personally, both good and bad things. But it's a very convincing illusion is what it is, because of the fact that we are all made of matter. And matter, what exactly is matter? Well, matter is, there's a density to it. Okay, I am not a scientist by any means, but I understand the basic fundamentals of science. And as something with density, that means that anything that is dense, what does it do? It's slower to move. Consciousness, pure consciousness, has no density. That is why we're able to occupy anything in our imagination. Our imagination is completely limitless. It has no bounds. It has no restrictions, and things that your logical human brain would consider irrational, impossible, or all of the knots in imagination, you can absolutely be, do, and have anything that you want. I think that the important thing here is to constantly ask yourself, am I looking at this situation through the filter of the person who is identified more with their human side? Or am I looking at this situation in particular through the lens or filter of someone that identifies as the cause? We put so much focus on what's happening around us and with other people, and it's so easy to lose sight of the fact that we are cause, and the situations, the world around us is the effect. When we put all of that importance on the 3D, on other people, on circumstances, we are in essence giving our power away to those things, thereby making all of that cause. Then guess what happens? We become the effect. That's how it feels like. And then you wonder, why does this crap keep happening to me? That's why. Because you haven't taken the reins of your power. And that is something that only you can do. Nobody on the internet is going to be able to convince you to do so. You've got to get tired of your own stuff, for lack of a better word. I'm not going to cuss. You've got to get tired of your own BS and be willing to legitimately put this into practice, put this to the test, and start acting differently by thinking differently and by recognizing that the value and the importance that you are giving to your desire, you need to flip that around and start putting all of that focus back to yourself. Because these things would not even exist if it weren't for you. You are source. That's all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you again real soon.